But yeah, Mango cut. And like, I guess possibly also getting banned from Melee tournaments. You killed Mango? Not even a little bit. I don't know if you're memeing or genuine. I feel zero guilt. I don't feel guilty at all. I think this is his own actions because he's his own man. He's an adult man. And me banning him like is the only thing that I did.
You know, one of the things that I absolutely cannot stand is people with no loyalty and no honor. And this streamer Ludwig that I just featured in the opening clip of this video is a perfect example of both of those things in spades, because recently he hosted an event where people ended up getting drunk and started playing Mario Kart. It had a bunch of Twitchers there and it was streaming live. And at this particular event, he basically force-fed a guy called Mango alcohol repeatedly, celebrated when the breathalyzers that he brought showed that his friend hit dangerous levels of drunk.
Guys, Mango just blew a .25!
And then when his friend got completely out of control, he just encouraged him repeatedly. But then there was some backlash the very next day when the clip started to go viral. So right there, what you saw was him throwing that friend under the bus. Now, I don't know a lot about the Twitch video game landscape. I don't know a lot about this Mango person or this Ludwig person, but reportedly by a bunch of different people who are covering this topic, Mango is the guy that helped Ludwig rise to fame. So this is somebody who's helped him in his career. He's been friends with him for years, and it is unambiguously stated throughout the course of the stream that Ludwig is fully aware that his friend Mango is an alcoholic, and yet he invited him to a drinking party and continuously fed him booze throughout the course of the evening, only to then throw him under the bus the very next day, not offer him a hand up, just gave him a knife in the back and then threw him to the wolves, threw him to the mob, because that is the absolute lack of character, lack of humanity, and honestly downright pure evil that Ludwig wanted to display for everybody. And it's important that we talk about this. But before we do, I want to thank everybody who supports this channel via actualjusticewarrior.com/join.
Give me the money. Give me the money. Okay?
Mango is like an alcoholic. Mango can drink 30 beers and act the same he does off no beers. He's a machine of a man.
He said he had 7 beers already today.
If you ask him how many beers he's had lifetime, it's probably above 10,000. He's the 2-time champion. He's never lost.
So like I said, I don't have any loyalty to this Mango person. I quite literally have never seen anything he's ever done in my entire life. And apparently he got big playing Super Smash Brothers, which to me sounds like an absurd sentence. But the fact is, people do get famous playing video games. Apparently he was pretty good. And of course, he supposedly has had an alcohol problem for years. But the reason I'm not highlighting this guy in particular, who again was drunk, was humping objects, touching on people in weird ways, and basically making an ass of himself, is because this guy put out a statement where he took accountability and acknowledged that essentially being a famous video game streamer for the 10 years that he has been one was him winning the lottery, and he basically pissed all that money away, pissed all that success away, and he actually really genuinely apologized. So Mango in the wrong for what he did. He got drunk, he got stupid, obviously he embarrassed himself. The consequences are absolutely devastating. Companies that have been working with him for years completely dropped him. He got suspended from Twitch, maybe banned permanently from Twitch. I don't really know how their system works over there, but that is a separate issue from what we're talking about right now, because Ludwig is the host of the party. Ludwig is supposed to be his dear friend. Ludwig is somebody who said himself that his father actually dealt with alcoholism, and that ultimately ended up leading to his father losing his life.
You know, I don't talk about it sincerely too often. I obviously, like, you guys know this about me, but my dad had a serious problem with alcohol, and his rock bottom was death. You know, candidly, that's what the rock bottom for him was, is he never got the better of it. It got the better of him. And his life was like, he was 40, he was 40s. He died at 44 years old, 43 years old, excuse me. Young. Right, I'm very close, you know, relatively
Hope
to the
you
age
don't feel too bad.
that
it will
he
get
died
better
at.
less than 3.
And you know, I've talked to Mango in the past. Like, I've asked him probably 4 times, 5 times point blank, are you an alcoholic? And every time he's like, no, I'm not. And has gone months without drinking. So like, I've taken him at face value. But like, clearly it's like a problem. And so this is his rock bottom. Hopefully it's his rock bottom.
Now, you guys might think I'm going a little bit too harsh on this Twitch streamer that I don't have a lot of context for, but the fact is, I'm not going harsh enough. The man is absolutely soulless. How can you utter those words? How can you utter that sentence right there, that your father died early in life due to alcoholism because he couldn't get a hold of it, he couldn't get past that demon in the bottle, in order to reference an Iron Man comic right here to kind of tamper the mood, and then turn around and say, when you see your best friend or one of your closest friends or somebody who helped you in your career, again, I don't know the extent of the relationship, go down that same path, that you don't really care.
I feel zero guilt.
Mango is like an alcoholic.
Guys, Mango just blew a .25!
I feel zero guilt.
That it's not really your business. You wash your hands of it and move along. And the thing is, again, if Mango had acted this way on his own, outside of the context of Ludwig, then this would still be an incredibly messed up statement for him to just be commenting on, because he wants the virtue points and he doesn't want to be out here taking any strays for his friend. Essentially, all he cares about is self-preservation, and that's what we're seeing on display right here. And again, the disgusting lack of honor, the disgusting lack of loyalty is on full display, and it's at absurd levels already. Now, again, I don't disagree with the fact that this Mango person needs to take some responsibility. The problem is right here is that this Ludwig person isn't taking any. He's like, I'm gonna ban this guy from events. We're not gonna have him anymore. He just acted all crazy out of nowhere, not pointing out the fact that you were pumping him full of alcohol and getting the crowd to cheer for him to get more and more drunk throughout the course of the evening, and to dangerous levels. The clip that I'm about to show you shows Mango at 0.32.
Everybody, Mango just blew a .32!
To be clear, that is dangerous. That's not good. That's not good.
Now look, I can't vouch for the accuracy of those breathalyzer tests, but the fact is, this is very dangerous levels of alcohol. In most states, you can actually be arrested for DWI if you are at a 0.05. That's the minimum cutoff, and of course, the standard limit, where you're basically automatically going to be arrested, where it's not a judgment call, is 0.08. He is 4 times the legal limit in terms of driving a car of blood alcohol content. He is at risk for alcohol poisoning, and this Ludwig guy right here is cheering him on. In addition to that, in many of the clips where you see this Mango person humping things with his shirt off, that was also encouraged by Ludwig himself, who decided that all the men needed to take their shirts off for whatever reason in order to generate more views for the stream. In addition to that, I will also point out that these incidents were happening repeatedly throughout the evening, and never did Ludwig decide, you know what, it would be an appropriate time to shut off the stream, to shut off the cameras, to stop filming it. Again, I talked about him stabbing him in the back when he needed a hand up, but what he also did with one hand with the knife was hold his phone in the other hand and film every moment of it in order to maximize donations and maximize revenue, all only to then throw this guy under the bus and say he's a no good alcoholic, just like my father, who didn't treat me right, I guess, throughout my life. Therefore, I don't care about this person. And again, this has real consequences. This lack of loyalty, this scumbaggery, this total absence of honor being shown to us by Ludwig has real world impacts. And if you have friends like this, get the hell away from them. Never get into an altered state near them, because they will abandon you at the first possible option. Let me give you a couple of anecdotes to illustrate my point. So when I was younger, not that much younger, I actually went to a rap party for a short film that one of my friends was making. During the course of the evening at the bar, I was actually drugged. I got some form of a roofie or something of the sort, and even though I only had 4 cocktails over the course of 4 hours, I started losing track of time, I got horribly sick, and it was a disaster in every way. And considering I drove there and I did not expect to get that blasted, this was a weird occurrence for me. And even though I was acting a bit of a fool, even though I was throwing up in absolutely disgusting ways. My friends, one of which became my groomsmen, another one I didn't even really know all that well, not only got me home, but they got my vehicle home so that we could be there safe, because they actually cared about me, because they were decent people, because they weren't people like Ludwig. And now in that particular instance, I was actually not at fault, but Ludwig would have looked at me if I were out with him and said, oh, well, he chose to get blasted that badly. Let me leave him. If he gets passed out and then he gets robbed or whatever, that's no big deal, as long as I save face and I'm not actually seen trying to help somebody who may be unpopular due to some of the actions that they took while they were in an altered state. Another couple of instances that I've been through have been friends that have been seriously blasted, seriously wasted, completely uncontrollable, acting a fool, sometimes lashing out at other people. And you know what? If I'm in that situation, the thing that I try to do, even if I'm angry at the friend who's acting like a ridiculous person, is get them out of there, because I don't want somebody to get hurt or killed or, get arrested or anything of the sort due to the fact that they are currently unable to control their behavior. You could talk to them privately later, but instead, Ludwig wants to get the credit for publicly shaming this individual, even though he enabled him throughout the course of the night. And again, one final instance, a childhood friend of mine actually passed away because when he was in an altered state around people who didn't care enough to stop him in the moment, or didn't have the foresight to stop him in the moment, he ultimately ended up losing his life based on something incredibly stupid. So a childhood friend of mine is no longer with us. His life was cut devastatingly short due to the fact that there were people like Ludwig that didn't want to stop him from doing something stupid. And I'm sure a lot of you out there in the audience have seen similar situations, maybe been the person in that situation, and it's absolutely tragic when you witness something like that and you see that the people that are around the person that's going through that don't really care about them. They'll use them for entertainment. In this case, he'll use this guy in order to build up his career and for entertainment in this particular stream. But as soon as they become inconvenient, as soon as it becomes a bit of a risk, a 1% risk, all of a sudden you wash your hands of him. All of a sudden you abandon him. All of a sudden you leave him twisting in the wind, because again, no honor, no loyalty, again, nothing underneath the surface, just a shallow, fame-seeking, absolute scumbag in every possible way. And that is the way that his actions read to everyone. And this guy is too much of a self-unaware doofus who has his fame and thinks, well, I got audience members that are going to side with me because I'm virtue signaling, to notice he's worthless. And I'm being 100% serious about this. This guy has no value as a person. Nobody should trust him. And this is a perfect example, a distillation of his character. And by the way, even though I don't have broader context for him, apparently this is a thing that he does all the time. He'll always jump on the bandwagon, throw whoever he needs to under the bus in order to save face. And in this case, it's absolutely absurd. Now again, Mango, this guy is responsible for his actions. We all understand that. But the thing is, not all of us understand that, because this very same character, as pointed out by a bunch of different people, thinks that the Twitch streamer is responsible for the actions and words of random people in their comments and in their chat, even if there are tens of thousands of messages and or comments going on at the same time. So by Ludwig's standards, it would only make sense that he's responsible for feeding his friend, who he knows is an alcoholic, alcohol, filming him throughout the course of the event, encouraging him to drink more, laughing at his antics, and then suddenly the next day when people have a problem with him, he all of a sudden has a problem with it. Now look, maybe I'm clinging to an old ideal, but for me, being a man means you have some level of honor, some level of loyalty. It means that you don't throw people that you allegedly care about and know for years under the bus as soon as they become inconvenient for you, especially to a mob of absolute savages on the internet that are out for blood, especially when, again, you enabled the piss poor behavior that was participated in. And by the way, you guys can dig up the clips for yourself. I'm not going to show it because some of it might be considered sexually explicit material, even though I don't think humping a toad doll is exactly that. But the thing is that there are women in these particular clips, and a lot of them are kind of laughing it off. A lot of them are trying to get him off camera. A lot of them are trying to pull Ludwig aside and talk to him about this person's behavior in a low-key way to, try to get him to manage this situation at his own party.
He's the two-time champion.
So when you have the women in this scenario, the women who, by the way, are having to deal with some of this bad behavior personally, that have to deal with their personal space being invaded, going to Ludwig in a calm way, trying to get him to remove this guy from the scene, trying to get him to calm him down, warning him about his behavior, and they are showing more honor and honestly more virtue than the guy who's hosting the event, the guy who's supposed to be in charge, the guy who's enabling this. That's absolutely sad. And again, we're not talking about regular ordinary women that have presented a bunch of standards that are honorable throughout their lifetime. The women at this event are e-girls. They're Twitch girls. And again, they're more respectable, more honorable than Ludwig ever is. I mean, again, he's not 1% the man that any of these Twitch e-girls are in this particular situation, and it's absolutely shameful and disgusting. And would it surprise you that I found out throughout the course of shooting this video that this Ludwig person is somebody who aligns politically, or at least somewhat personally, with Jank's nephew, the left-wing Twitch streamer, terrorist supporter, absolute scumbag? It turns out that these birds of a feather absolutely flock together, because I can only think of a few other people that would throw somebody under the bus like this, and almost all of them are these left-wing progressives because they demonstrate a lack of loyalty time and time again. So yeah, Ludwig, you deserve way more hate than you're getting. You deserve, honestly, for your career to be in peril, because your audience should reject you based on the fact that you are an absolute scumbag in every possible regard. Again, I've lost a friend because of people who didn't care in the moment like Ludwig, but at least the people that ended up seeing their friend go down that path, mess up their situation, for the most part, regret not intervening. Not this scumbag. He's like, well, I need to save myself. I need to throw this guy under the bus even further. Can I kick him while he's down? In addition to that, let me put another knife in his back, because of course, I gotta save my career. Look at my Red Bull sponsorship on my microphone. I gotta protect myself at all costs, even if it means just throwing this guy into the bus, burning him at the stake, whatever analogy you want to use. It's absolute scumbaggery through and through. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like this video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on my social media, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about Ludwig being pure scum. Till next time.